Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Respawn Aim Fire, the Kick-Ass Raven Gaming Podcast from Affable Idiots. I'm your host today, Adam, and I'm bringing you a RAF reviews for a little game called Biomorph. It's a really cool and interesting Metroidvania type game. There's a little cool twist on it. We'll talk about it in a second. So, overall, Biomorph is a game for Lucid Dreams Studios. A little blurb real quick. In Biomorph, you must use your skills to explore a vast, varied world, solve puzzles and platforming challenges, fight deadly monsters, and take their shapes to use their powers. So a little bit at the top level, kind of like what this game is. So like, you know, you read the beginning of this or listen to the beginning of this and be like, oh, okay, that's for me. So like I said, it's a Metroidvania. It's a hand-drawn art style. And it's Metroidvania. So it's a 2D platformer. There's combat and all of that. You know, you get powers to move on to different parts of the world. The interesting little wrinkle that they add here is that on top of, you know, being able to like wall jump or have this ability to open these kind of doors or whatever, you also take the powers of the enemies that you kill. Yes, it is a Metroidvania where you have Kirby powers and you kill your enemies to become your enemies and also use that to progress into the levels. Like I said, it's platformer, it's got combat. I wouldn't say Souls-like to that effect, but it does have like patterns and you need to get good, sort of. It's challenging, I guess I'll say. It is not super punishing, you can never beat this, but every boss fight I think I had to do 2 or 3 times, that kind of a thing. So, Metroidvania, Kirby powers, and also has a little bit of town builder in it as well. It's really cool. We'll talk more about it in a second. So your main character you play as, if you're watching the video, I have screens going during this whole thing. You are playing as a cat alien creature named Harlow, and both of your fists are not attached to their body. It's more of like a sentient 2 extra characters, basically. So you're this cat alien with 2 hands that you use to punch and shoot and all that, and then you can copy the DNA of creatures and become those creatures, hence the biomorph part. There's actually a little interesting history with this game for me, because this is not the first time I've played Biomorph. By the way, the code is provided by Vicarious for review, so just everyone know that's out there. But I actually played this game at PAX West. So in PAX West 2023, I was invited out there, got to hang out with people, do some panels, meet new friends and all that. But during, you know, a PAX, there's conventions and there's a lot of demos and developers there. So I actually randomly was walking the floor. I heard a little bit of buzz about like, hey, you played that Biomorph game over there? It's pretty cool. All right, cool. I went over there, sat down, played Biomorph, about maybe a 10-ish minute demo, and I was hooked. I was done. That demo was basically the very beginning of the game proper, and I was like, oh, this is wonderful. It's like, again, I love this art style. I love the gimmick of let's kill and capture these creatures' abilities, and I got out of that demo, and I was like, yes, I want more of this. Like, I cannot wait for this to come out. And then, you know, lo and behold, you know, a couple months later, here I am being able to review it. So it was really cool. It was awesome sitting down and talking to those devs at that time, and, you know, hearing the excitement and what the idea for the game was. And it's just neat to see it come full circle. Like my first PAX in like a long time, my first convention in a long time, sitting down playing a random game. And then, you know, here we are, you know, 8 months later and actually getting to review the thing that I saw there. Was really neat. So the things about this game, I really, just some good things. Again, if you like Metroidvanias, you're gonna like it. There's a lot of those going around right now. Feels like a little bit of a resurgence, especially in the indie game space. But like this is definitely one of the highlights, one of the better ones. It's not just one of those knockoffs. Platforming is good. I like it. Again, it's a 2D platformer. Platforming is good, especially when you start getting more of those abilities. You know, there's certain creatures that allow you to do things you can't normally do. Like, just say there's one area of the world where you need to be able to like jump super, super high. Like at that point, your character doesn't have like wall jump or anything. It's like, how am I supposed to get up here? So there's this one creature you kill, and its whole thing is that it jumps super high. And then these platforms appear in the world just for that creature. So yeah, the platforming is solid. A lot of jumping, you know, double jump or, you know, jump on walls. Slide is actually, so you instead of having a parry or whatever for combat, you actually have a slide ability, which is also used in the world. And there's a lot of like hidden nooks and crannies, or like, oh, I'm going to slide under that little nook in that corner over there, and I'm in an extra room. you get the idea. But platforming feels good. I like it a lot. That stuff is fine and all, but the main thing for me is like the abilities of the creatures. Like that's really where the hook of this game is, and really where it makes itself different. So again, like you get the very first creature you meet, it's like a ram kind of, and again, they're all aliens as well. So which is the interesting part, where it's like this ram creature, and it's got like this big like elongated head, and it's it can shoot out little beams and stuff, but you got to kill him, you punch, go behind him, hit him in the back, whenever as he charges through, shoot him with whatever again, there's multiple different upgrades and different mementos is what they call them, where you can have change up your powers and stuff like that. It's really neat. But getting that ability of that creature and then just being able to use his charge to like go through like walls in the level that you couldn't get through before. It's like, oh, this wall is destructible, but I don't have the ability to. Okay, now I'm this weird creature, power through the wall. One of my favorite areas of the game is like a Wild West kind of biome thing, and there's a creature that's, I just think of a giant like mole or badger or whatever, where it's like, oh, he's got super long claws, and you can just like dig through the parts of the map that are earth, and that's the way you get through. You become this giant mole, and you claw your way through. Basically every creature you can become in that area, that biome, is the way that you solve puzzles and get through traversal in that biome. So it's very nice to be like, okay, I need to kill this creature. I'll take its form, and I need it for this area specifically. Like sometimes they come in handy on like certain boss battles and stuff, but like when I'm in Wild West world, I need to get the Wild West creatures. When I'm in the laboratory with all these weird like mechanical bioengineered monstrosities, I need to have their abilities to get through this area. So it keeps a nice little bit of progression, because like I'm constantly killing things, constantly getting new powers. The more of them you kill in Biomorph, they level up and become more powerful for you to use. But I like that idea of, obviously you've played Metroidvania. It's like, I need to have the whip to get through the blue doors or whatever. And all that's cool. And that stuff is still sort of here, but I just like the added bit of like becoming these creatures and having combat abilities is actually way more important than just getting, I have the whip to get through the yellow door or whatever it is. So a super big fan of that. Feels super cool, super fluid. Everything's nice, and the movement feels great and all that. And then being these creatures like completely changes up how things work. Like you get people who like go through the floor and they're super slow, but like they're the only ones who can like jump through the floor and dive down to another part of the level. Projectiles, really useful against bosses sometimes. Very cool. I like it a lot. Combat again is very good. I like it. I was a real punchy guy. Use my left and the right hooks, just going at enemies. There's a lot of interesting guns and different abilities. There's like spears and stuff like that. I say with the basic stuff that I had from the beginning, because just using the little punch kitty paws, I'm a big fan of. Like I said, bosses, I talked about this a little bit earlier. Bosses can be tough. I had, like I said, most bosses took me 2 or 3 times. They're not impossible. It's just like I need to learn the pattern. I need to be smart about this kind of a deal. It is a thing where like if you die, you lose your currency, which we'll get to in a second when we get to the town building part. So again, there's that Souls-ish part where, but you die, you go back to the last spawn point that you saved at. You got to go collect your currency before it disappears. But it's not like crazy difficult, like, oh man, if I didn't parry at this exact moment, you literally can't beat this boss. It's like, no, I can get through this. Most of it's like a puzzle platform kind of a thing where it's like, all right, he shoots twice at the top, shoots twice at the bottom, shoots big in the middle. So you can kind of work your way around that, and then, as you're doing damage to the enemy, to the boss. So I liked all the bosses that I played against. They're all cool and weird, big, varied creatures. And this aesthetic of this game, it's like, why don't we hand draw some weird, like some teenage art book, weird alien stuff, and I'm into it. And the last facet of this game that I found really cool and interesting was the town building aspect. There is an entire, so when the story begins, I'm not going to go into spoiler stuff. You're this character, you're Harlow, and you wake up in this spaceship and you escape the spaceship, and it's been like, a lot of time has passed since you were last awake, and there's a whole mystery about your backstory and all that. But you go to this town and you start building back up the town, where it's like, all right, get blueprints, and then we can build the shop for this person who can sell you upgrades for your items, or you build this thing and now this person moves in, you can have cosmetic stuff, and all that is cool. It's really an interesting thing to be like, okay, yes, we understand that we have the Metroidvania stuff down. It's fun to go out into these biomes and go get these objects and beat the boss or whatever and do your main, your main quest stuff. But just coming back and being like, all right, let me hang out with this weird fisherman. Let me hang out with this guy at the bar. This cat lady. Yeah, there's a lady where you got to collect all her, like 30 of her cats that are all around the world and help her out. So I like the atmosphere and like the vibe that it gives you. Like, oh, these weird, quirky people are hanging out in this town who like don't know anything about you, but you get context of the world. They're cool and it's fun. It's fun to build up a town. It's not overly complex. You're not going to be spending 30 minutes at a time organizing your town or anything. It's like, oh, I picked up this thing in the world. I'm going to bring it back, upgrade it. That's fun. So all that stuff is really, really cool. The one kind of a negative I have on this game is that, just a heads up, obviously, because you're playing the game now that it's out, pay attention to quest and do stuff, explore that town. Because again, that town building is so interesting, it's so cool. But there's actually, I think, very things that you need to know. So this is basically just what happened to me that upset me. That is my only real negative. Where there are save points and you can upgrade the save points to be fast travel, which is very useful because this map's pretty decently big and you need to instead of having to constantly platform and go through the entire map, you can just activate your save points, go to fast travel. That's cool. It tells you at the beginning, hey, you get 15 of these little chips or whatever that upgrade your save points. It's like there are going to be more save points than you have chips right now. Just be aware. And again, it was signposted for me. And I kept talking to the lady who was over the fast travel thing. Was like, hey, go in the sewers or whatever. I didn't go in the sewers. All right. So I'm way far out. I am 25 screens away from home base, and I am out of fast travel points. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how to get more, but I'll just keep going. And I kept going, and I kept going, and I ended up, on the complete other side of the map with no way to fast travel back. And that was rough, the amount of travel I had to do to get back. Again, I was playing the game. I was still upgrading and doing stuff. I actually had a boss battle in the middle of me trying to get back home to spend my currency and beat it and everything. So that was fine, but it was like, man, I want to just go home to upgrade the town or whatever. And it's just thing if you have a quest in your quest log, pay attention to it, do what they tell you to do, because basically there was somebody underneath the town who sold me the upgrade to get more of those things that I could fast travel more. So it was fine, but I wasn't super aware of it, and the amount of travel time between where I ended up and where I needed to get was a bit much. Again, a little bit my fault, but just a thing to be aware of. Hey, pay attention to the town, do stuff in the town, upgrade stuff in the town. It will make your life a lot easier. Kind of final, thoughts and ideas on this. And I do like this game a lot. Again, the art style does it for me. The little twist on getting your powers does it for me. I love a good Metroidvania platformer. I would say it's a very tough year for these kind of games. Again, we had, your Prince of Persia's, your Tales of Kinzara. There's a lot of these games, especially in the indie space. I feel like this is one of the best ones. I like it a lot. Again, after playing it at PAX West, I was like, this is going to be good. This is going to be special. And after playing the full game, I'm like, yeah, no, it's still here. This is super solid. It's everything I hoped it to be. Even in a busy world, I would say if you're that kind of fan, if anything I've said here is interesting, if you're like, I like a Metroidvania, I like a platformer, Kirby, they haven't done a good one of those in a long time. I'm kidding. But they haven't done one of those in a long time where you're just 2D Kirby getting powers and stuff. This game is that. If everything I've said is interesting, it is one of those, and it is a good one of those. So even in this really tough year with all these great games that are in a similar genre, I think it's absolutely worth it. So my final verdict is yes, get this game. Do you like this kind of thing? Yes, get it. If you played the Steam Next Fest demo, you like that Next Fest demo, get the game. Right now it is currently $19.99 on Steam. The reviews are very positive. I think it was 92% after 80 reviews, so very good reviews. People are definitely digging it. It is coming to consoles soon, definitely this year. There's not an exact date on it, but this will be, on Switch, Xbox, PlayStation. It'll be everywhere. Again, I think it's a perfect Steam Deck game. I don't think it'll be a great Switch game. I think it'll be great everywhere, but just be aware. Currently on Steam, coming to everything else later. And that's all my thoughts on Biomorph. Again, if any of that sounded even slightly interesting or like a thing that you'd been into, I definitely would say check it out. It did not disappoint me from the first time that I played it. And it is one of my favorite Metroidvanias of the year, for sure. Again, thanks for listening by. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, listen to us on podcast services, Respawn Aim Fire, and I appreciate it.